welcome to Exploring Santa Cruz, a bi-weekly program on KSQD 90.7 FM, and since Saturday, June 17th, also on 89.7 FM in the Monterey, Salinas, and Watsonville. We're a bi-weekly program. I'm your host, Matilda Rand, and my guest is Reesa Feldsher, and we will talk about improv for individuals on the autism spectrum. Also in the studio is Jennifer Cass, who assists Reesa from time to time. Reesa Feldsher is a nationally certified speech-language pathologist who has extensive experience treating individuals on the autism spectrum. She's also a teacher and perpetual student of improv, who believes improv is an art form that can benefit all kinds of people, both neurodiverse and neurotypical. She's a longtime resident of Santa Cruz who founded SpectrumImprov. Welcome, Reesa.
Thank you, Matilda.
Reesa, tell me more about being a speech-language therapist or pathologist.
I've been a speech therapist over 25 years, and a lot of people think of speech therapists as someone who might treat just fluency disorders or articulation orders. But what they don't know is that speech therapists really can work with people with social communication disorders. And so for many years, I've worked with people on the autism spectrum, ranging in age from 5 to adult. And currently, I work with people of all ages on the spectrum.
Mm-hmm. What inspired you to connect speech therapy and improv?
Well, they're actually both passions of mine. And it turns out they weave together really well. I've used improv games and therapy over the years. It's been a great vehicle for teaching social relatedness, collaboration, helping people understand each other's points of view. And most recently, I started working with adult children, and their parents. It was such a surprise doing improv games with them because the parents were able to see this whole other side of their child that they hadn't seen before. And as I was doing that, the thought was, oh my gosh, you need to expand this. Other people need to see what this is like, to see their children doing things outside of just the day-to-day, really being in the moment and playing with them. Right. So that's kind of how the idea originated.
So it's both fun as well as strengthen the communication between people, teamwork in the people that participate in the improv?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
It really helps people connect to each other in a really playful, fun, safe way.
And how did the parents respond?
Delighted, overall. To be able to work with their adult child and really be in the moment with them, and to not hear them talk about their special interest or something that happened 10 years ago, that they're actually present and listening and going back and forth in the interaction. So it was very connecting for them.
And so you would say that the people that you meet who are on the spectrum, they have somewhat of a problem with the connection, and the improv helps that?
Yeah, absolutely. The number one difficulty is relating to people socially. Mm-hmm. And in improv, you really need to have certain skills to play the games, really listening to other people, responding to other people, being in the moment with them. It really helps them to be able to do that and then to carry that over into other situations.
In everyday life?
Yeah.
That brings me to my next question. Tell us a little bit about what improv or improvisation is for you. How do you practice it in your own life?
Well, one of the fundamental tenets of improv is yes and. Uh-huh. And really that's a positive idea that you are going to be open to things in the world. And I think that once you start thinking that way, doors get open to you. And I think it requires both courage and optimism to be able to say yes to things and to kind of let things flow into your life and give it a try. And not only that, but to allow yourself to say yes to you. So if you think, oh, I can't do that, I don't do that, no. Suddenly, if you have this mentality of yes and, you've opened a door for yourself as well. Mm-hmm. So, and if you think about it, if you're interacting with someone and you have an idea and they say, no, just how that feels versus the yes.
The no blocks everything off,
right.
And there goes your communication. Would you agree, Jennifer?
I would. Improv for me has helped me feel more comfortable in my own skin and to trust what's happening in my own head is actually okay, and to laugh with other people. And I've seen people pretend to be barnacles, and it's been hilarious. I've seen people play slugs. I've seen people do all sorts of crazy things for a moment, and it's the silliest thing, and we're all laughing together. And what a better way to spend your time. I don't know what it would be.
What I'm thinking of, what the listeners may be thinking, so you have people that you're working with who have trouble connecting. How do you get them there? Is it the games themselves that do it for them? Is there any approach you take to get them to loosen up, and how does that work?
Well, actually, I think that it's important to have a structure, kind of an overall bigger picture structure, just to begin with, so that people know in a bigger sense what to expect. And once that's broken down and you know we're going to go through certain games, that can feel more comfortable to people to begin with. And for people in my classes, there's a space where if they're feeling stressed out at all in any sort of way, they can go off and do some drawing, have a moment to themselves, because sensory sensitivities can be an issue. And that's something that I want to be sensitive to and am sensitive to in my classes. I think that trying to create a predictable environment is one thing that can feel safe and comfortable for people.
So we just heard Jennifer. And Jennifer, tell us a little bit more about yourself. What do you do?
My day job is I teach math at Cabrillo College. And as a teacher, I have to stand up in front of my classes. And I have my structure. I know what I'm going to do. I know what I'm going to cover during the day. But I can make up a little bit. I can be flexible in my classes, much more so now that I've practiced improv for so long. I used to be much more rigid and predictable. I liked what Reesa said about having the structure, but then predictable times to be unpredictable. I think my students appreciate that. I have a great time, and I think my students see me having fun in front of the class, and then they get into it too.
So you have scheduled unpredictability?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
In fact, in sessions, sometimes I would write out kind of like a question mark, meaning something can happen here, that we know we have this plan, but something can definitely change in this plan. I have another kind of thought about that too, going back to the question of how does it impact my life. It definitely has made me more flexible. And also I think helped my students be more flexible. If I'm on a trip and I plan to go see this incredible lake and I go to it and it's dried up, well, that's the offer that was given me, and that's what I have to accept. And I have to be flexible.
Yes,
and
and.
Exactly. Yes, we're going to do something else.
Did you tell me that you were not just an aficionado of improv, you're kind of an improv nut?
Yes, I would do it every day, all the time. Right now, we're sort of improvising because we don't know exactly what we're going to say, even though we sort of have a plan. But no, I would love to do as much improv as I possibly could. I love the play of it. I love improvising with experienced people. And you do a certain kind of play, and I love playing with new people and seeing that light kindle in their eyes and the smile when they suddenly get it. They can be silly or they can be serious. It's all good, saying yes to everything.
And so you assist her at times?
Reesa has held improv parties at her home, and I'll help demonstrate games and sometimes lead them.
I want to say that Jennifer is really an excellent improv performer. And I'll confess, I am not. And I don't judge myself for that. I've accepted that. But I really do believe in the thinking behind it and the attitude about it and the games and the connection. That's the main thing. And for my classes, I'm really not trying to create performers. I'm really trying to establish an environment where people are connecting with one another, and to have neurodiverse and neurotypical people in the same classes together. That is something I'm really wanting.
Tell us a little bit more about those two terms, neurodiverse and neurotypical.
Well, neurotypical is someone who I would say doesn't have any specific areas of challenge. Neurodiverse would be someone who thinks differently. Maybe their strength is more visual thinking, or maybe more auditory. There's something a little bit different in how their brain reacts to sensory stimuli. So,
would you say that includes, say, learning differences, like certain kinds, like math problems
probably.
or reading problems? Those
Sure,
sometimes?
for dyslexia or ADHD, people with social communication disorders would fall into that category. And what the label is used changes over time. In the past, there was high functioning autism, there was Asperger's. The labels change. Most people have kind of a more standard, typical way of approaching things and thinking about things versus those that think of things a little bit differently.
Right. I was thinking when you were talking neurodiverse, neurotypical, let's say I'm neurotypical, I can see myself learning a whole lot working with people with neurodiverse because they're pulling me out of my head because I say yes and whatever they say, I want to pick up and then work with it. But you never know in improv what people give you. But neurodiverse people have some skills that I don't even have. I feel that I might enjoy a class with your individuals on the spectrum because I may even learn more.
Absolutely. I think there's the real opportunity for mutual respect and appreciation of whomever is there to play.
Yeah.
And definitely learning about each other in that process.
I love learning how people's brains work, and I keep referring to my math teaching, and I discussing a problem with a student until I understand where their block is, and then I can help them through it. Improv can be the same way. We hear these responses. It's like, oh, I never thought of that way, but now my mind has been expanded.
Right. Let's take a tiny little break to tell people that they're listening to Exploring Santa Cruz on KSQD. My name is Matilda Rand, and my guests are Reesa Feldsher, speech-language pathologist who uses improv in her practice and will start classes for individuals on the autism spectrum. And also in the studio is Jennifer Cass, a volunteer who at times assists Reesa in her work. Give us some ideas. I guess people were interested, maybe get some ideas about improv games, what it would look like in a class.
Okay. So in my classes, I think it's important for me to state that games would be done with groups or in pairs. I don't want to put anybody on the spot in my classes, so it's really creating an atmosphere of comfort for everyone that's there.
And you'd have options for people who don't want to participate in a particular game. There'd be support. You mentioned an art area.
Right. If someone's not feeling that they can do it, then they can certainly take a break from it.
What is the fundamental idea behind improv? Tell us a little bit about that.
There are basic tenets of improv. The first one, which was mentioned earlier, was a yes and.
Right.
That's really important. One idea that's really critical is that you can't really make mistakes in improv, which is a wonderful thing. It's not a place of shame or embarrassment. It's the place of acceptance of yourself and others. And so you can't really make a mistake. So that's a lovely thing. You can't have an agenda in improv. You really are working off of other people. I just want to share with you is in my work with toddlers, I really use these tenets of improv to help parents play with their children. So all these sorts of things, really listening, seeing what the other person is doing, being in the moment with them, not having an agenda, having the interaction go back and forth is really a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Let's do a game.
Yay.
All right.
And of course, we have to do right now verbal games because we're on the radio.
Right, okay. Maybe we can start with a game. It's a two-person game. Matilda will get to play a three-person game with you. Two-person game might be, I think it's called 1, 2, 3. So basically, we're going to start off by counting, Jennifer and I, counting 1, 2, 3. Simple. 1,
2,
3,
1,
2,
3.
Okay, so now I'm going to replace 1 with a sound. Any sound I pick, like blah.
2,
So, 3,
blah.
2,
3,
blah.
2,
3.
blah.
Okay. So now we replace the 2 with what, Jennifer? Okay. So here we go. Blah. 3.
Blah.
Woohoo!
3,
Blah. 3.
blah.
And now, and I hope you do this at home, because this is a fun one. And so now we have blah, and now for 3, how about chugga chugga chew?
Blah.
Woohoo!
Chugga chugga chew.
Blah.
Woohoo!
Chugga chugga chew.
Blah.
Woohoo!
Chugga chugga chew.
Right, we get the
That's the
idea.
game.
Good. Excellent. Can we show yes and?
Sure.
I'll make a statement, and Matilda, I'll toss it to you, and
Okay.
you'll say yes and add to whatever, and then you'll toss that. Reesa will pick it up, and we'll just go around for a little bit.
All right.
I ate 3 pieces of cheese today.
Yeah. I saw you doing it, and I could see the smile on your face. You must have liked it. Did she like it, you think?
Yes, I saw her eat 3 pieces of cheese, and she had a smile on her face. And then she picked up the cheese and smushed it.
Yes. And with that big smile on my face, I took the cheese and I smushed it, and then I put it up my nose. Am I allowed to say that?
You can say that. It's not one of the 7 words. Yeah. And then I saw that you had to get a handkerchief because your nose was all smushed up and you couldn't even talk. No, because the cheese was in your nose, right?
Yes. And then she had to go to the store to get some cheese nose remover.
Yes, and fortunately the store had 3 cheese removers, and I got the biggest one because I did have a lot of cheese in my nose.
Okay, that's an idea, and this is silly, but it is. I mean, I really had to listen to you carefully, and I had to remember that at some point I was going to talk to Reesa to give her something that she can pick up on that. So, excellent. It's not all verbal. And so you showed me one game, what's called a mirror game. Mm-hmm. Tell us about it and do it at the same time.
Okay. So I love this game because you really have to have a lot of awareness of other people. So in this game, you're facing one other person. This is a 2-person game.
And your hands are up.
We're going to designate one person as a leader in this. We're going to try to follow each other's movements as though we are a mirror for one another. So I will start off as the leader. And here we go. So I'm moving my hand.
And I'm imitating as best I can.
Yeah.
So you're moving your hand down and to the right, okay?
Right. And I have to be careful about not moving really fast. I have to be very aware of what she can do, what she can follow. As the leader, that's my...
So now I see your other hand going up and going to the side, and then you make fist of it. And Jennifer does the same thing.
And at a certain point, I might say, okay, Jennifer, now you're the leader in this mirror.
And she points the finger at her, and then they both point the fingers, and then they point the fingers at me and up, and all right, there you go.
So now this gets most interesting, which is when you're acting as a mirror with another person and not saying who is the leader or the follower. And we'll demonstrate that.
So what I'm seeing is that right now Jennifer is following you.
Am I, though?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. And then, now Jennifer takes over. She puts her hands outward, and Reesa follows. And I guess if you're really good at it, the person who is watching doesn't even see who is doing the leading. That is fascinating. I mean, I can't figure it out. Well, that one I can see.
Sometimes you see somebody blink, and that becomes the motion, even though it wasn't intentional. You just pick up on whatever, and that's like, oh, did I do that? And it's like,
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, I love that
very
game.
Cool.
Thank you. What are the benefits of improv?
There are a lot. We've talked about just the emotional benefits of it, but there are a lot of physiological benefits of it. And I think that in our society, people don't play enough. Children are encouraged to play, but adults are not encouraged to play all that much. Play can be really stress relieving. It can help you be less anxious and help with depression, loneliness. Physiologically, it can help stimulate oxygen flow throughout your body. The laughter that ensues can increase your heart rate, but then decrease it so that you enter a very relaxed state.
Right.
The benefits of the improv really result from, I think, the laughter also that happens with it, which inevitably happens. I mean, today we've been laughing just because it's fun, silliness play, but very serious play in terms of being really good for our bodies.
I don't think we've said, Reesa, don't you have a degree in humor or something from Berkeley?
I thought it was a doctorate.
No,
Not yet. Semi-serious.
I actually did a thesis on the effects of humor on education. My interest in humor goes way back to in the 70s when I found out that traffic schools had comedy. That was really interesting to me. We do get physiological benefits from it, both short-term and long-term. Long-term, it helps boost our immune system, helps relieve pain, helps us get into good moods. So I think it's great for everyone.
I know.
Really.
So you're starting some classes.
I am. My classes are going to be starting in July. I have currently 2 groups going. One group are for those who would be considered level 1 on the autism spectrum. That means they have good verbal skills and don't really require support. We know a lot of people like that. Anybody who feels that they just are not as comfortable as they want to be in a social situation would benefit from that class. People with social communication disorders and social anxiety, ADHD, anybody who wants to an improv class, that would be a suitable class for them. Right. It's very low pressure. The other class that I have, calling Group 2, and that is for people that are on the autism spectrum, adults. I'm really hoping to have a service for adults on the autism spectrum because there's so many things out there for children. The second group is for adults that need some support, more substantial support, so most likely have a caretaker. And I really, in a way, insisting that the caretaker come to the class, and the class will be as much fun for the caretaker as for the adults that need the support that are there. So it's really a place where neurotypical and neurodiverse people can come together and enjoy one another and the games.
And if people are interested in the classes, where would they find the information?
At onthespectrumimprov.com. And if for some reason that there's any confusion when you put that in your Google search, just put Santa Cruz. onthespectrumimprov.com in Santa Cruz.
All the one word, on the SpectrumImprov with a V.com. Good. And if they want to contact you by phone, what can they use?
Yeah, absolutely. They can contact me at 831-295-0461.
Perfect. Reesa and Jennifer, we have a few moments for final thoughts. Let's start with Jennifer and then Reesa.
Oh, sure. I can't emphasize how much I feel like I'm a different person. I am the same person that I've always been, but I used to be the person who would get red in the face if I even thought somebody was thinking about me. And now I keep saying I'm so much more comfortable just as being who I am and helping to other people to be comfortable. Like it's about the other people, really, in the end, and just having fun.
Reesa, what would you like to share for the final moments?
I hope that people can adapt more of a yes attitude in their lives. Yes, towards trying new things. Yes, towards allowing themselves to try new things. I think that the world needs more of that thinking, and that leads to more connection between people. We also need face-to-face contact. There's just way too much of people being on screens and not really
or on email
physically being with one another and interacting and playing.
Talking about that, did you find during COVID that people were losing some social connections?
Oh. Absolutely.
Yeah?
I think that, Jennifer, I'm sure you can speak to that too. It's definitely made it harder for people to come back and do even some of the normal things that they might have done prior to staying at home all the time.
It's going to take time to recover, I think, from our isolations. But that's going to happen. And improv is one way to connect.
And it might even be in regular classrooms that improv.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think the applications
so
of it...
excitement.
Yeah, no, I just think the applications of it are underused currently. I actually am in the process of developing a specific curriculum for people going through addiction treatment. That
Tell us more.
I really think that calling it Cowabunga Improv, because I really want it to be
What's it called?
Cowabunga Improv. It's really about no shame and connection, getting outside of yourself, being with other people. And I think that's something that a lot of populations could benefit from. I know currently improv is used in the corporate world. I know quite a few companies in the Silicon Valley do improv to, I think, promote creativity amongst the employees there. But I think that there are lots of places where it belongs.
I want to thank you. I know we could talk more, but I want to thank you, Reesa Feldsher and Jennifer Cass. We discussed improv for individuals on the autism spectrum, and we went way beyond that, and especially all the benefits that actually you and me and everybody else who's listening could receive by doing improv. Jennifer, thank you. Reesa, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
for having us.